The United States of America. They believe that the United States government is prepared to usurp the Constitution and break down doors and confiscate guns. Am I lying to these people, Bob Fletcher and Jim Trockman?
John Trockman.
John, sorry, it says John here. You believe this?
No, not quite like that. Not the U.S. government.
Which government? The one world government?
Yes, sir.
The United Nations?
Yes, sir.
And you're in the woods now, and you're not, neither of you, you're not in the woods?
No, no, no.
Yeah, you're from Montana, the city of Noxon?
Yes, sir. The little town of Noxon.
350 people?
Maximum.
Aha. And you living in the woods?
No.
No, you're not. Is anybody in Montana?
Just their plain homes.
You're sitting next to Ray Southwell, who does, from Michigan. You gather in the woods, don't you? In Michigan?
When we train?
Yeah.
That's correct.
But you're not living there.
I don't quite understand when you say living there. I live in northern Michigan, and I have 20 acres that I live on, and there's a house there.
Right. You're with Ken Adams and Doug Hall here, as well as the ever-popular, highly regarded Jim Johnson. You're from Ohio, are you?
That's correct. Columbus, to be exact.
Yeah. You're in a militia, are you?
The Ohio Unorganized Militia, duly elected communications officer.
Yeah. What do you, incidentally, I thought this was a all-white Aryan nation, don't tread on me kind of group.
Yeah, well, the Saving the Country doesn't have an affirmative action program. All are invited.
And you're here, among other things, to say that you share their concern about the pending crisis that's coming to this country?
Oh, absolutely. Being a minority in our community, we've seen certain actions that these conspiratorial theorists have talked about actually happen in our communities.
Tell us what they are. I'm having a little trouble getting it from the civilians here.
Well,
you look like you're from IBM compared to the rest of the group up there.
So.
Yeah. We can spot you from the air, Bob. You better get yourself your fatigues here.
I'm going to get spotted from the air.
Yes, you are. You're serious about this. Please, I want this audience to know. Oh, show them the film. This is from Michigan. Let me just, while we're showing it, you can make your case.
The basic problem is rather simple, and Americans have become concerned that here in the United States we're losing our constitutional rights. We are slowly being moved into what amounts to being a one world, and that's George Bush and Gorbachev's words, a one world, new world order. And what that amounts to basically is socialism, one world socialism, and if you don't like it, you're going to be moved off someplace where they can control you. And the problem is, in terms of the militia across the United States, this is exactly what we're addressing. It has nothing to do with racism, as I guess our compadre from Ohio would testify. It has nothing to do with a handful of crazy people running through the woods and practicing to shoot unknown, mysterious people. We already are witnessing, as we talk today, Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico is under martial law, folks, that everybody said would never happen. That's as we speak today.
This has to do with the sweep of public housing for drugs and weapons in Puerto Rico.
That's the excuse that's being used. Now, the only point they don't make is that the tremendous tonnage of cocaine and narcotics coming into the United States is being done on C-130 military aircraft. It's been that way since all the way back in the 80s, and it was part of the Oliver North business with bringing in the drugs and the guns down to the Contras. That's where the drug problem comes
You're
from.
afraid of the suspension of what you believe is your right to bear arms. That's really at the root of this.
No,
you're afraid the feds are coming along to take your guns away.
My basic concern is what kind of a country am I going to leave my children? I am very, very concerned about that. And that's the reason that I'm in the militia, is what kind of a country am I going to leave for my children?
Yeah, that's the same way with me, Phil. You know.
Yeah, you're the chaplain, are you?
Yeah.
Really?
At 63, my youngest daughter just had a little girl. Well, she's a year old now, and I was amazed that at 63 I started to really appreciate this little person, and so that's what I'm concerned
still don't know
about.
what the hell you're doing in these funny outfits here. What are you concerned about, gentlemen? What's going to happen? You're finessing me here. You think that the feds are coming, they're going to suspend the Constitution, they're going to take your guns away, and you're practicing, and when they come, you're going to pop them one.
Phil, in my community, it's already happened.
Wait a minute. What do you mean it's already happened? Oh, you mean in the inner cities?
In inner cities, it's already happened.
We have
you said public housing. It's also been public and private areas also. Shreveport, Louisiana is a great example. It's also happened in Chicago.
Yeah.
They killed a guy in Boston doing that.
So you're effectively, you're in the militia in order to what?
Preserve our constitutional
Preserve.
rights.
And how will this express itself, this preservation?
This preservation, what we do in Ohio is we arm people with knowledge, is what we do.
The knowledge that your rights are eroding.
That is correct.
You got to say this, friends. Right. If you don't say this, this audience is going to not know what. You look like a barbershop quartet. Oh no, you're 6 guys.
This is what the American
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. What is the American people? You're holding out on me. You are not coming through to me.
Your eyes get too big. I can't get any more.
Well, tell them what.
Here's what the American people are concerned about.
All right, I'm ready to learn here.
Every day, the American people from all across the country call us, and they tell us 2 things. One, there's too much government. There's too much federal intervention into our states and into our personal lives, that our states are losing our sovereignty. Back up. Give the control back to our local elected officials. Let's uphold our sheriffs. Let's give power back to our sheriffs, who we esteem highly, who is our only elected law official in this country. Back off federal government. Give the states some power again. That's what the people are concerned about.
And by the way, Phil, in reference to that, in reference to the possibility of them being a quartet, we have turned it into a huge singing organization of governors. As of today, the governors are wrapping up a convention. The governors of the United States of America have said exactly what Mr.
That the federal government is taking too much power.
Exactly, and that the governors need it back in their own backyards.
Right.
Phil, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Well, all right, I'll go ahead.
The economic situation of this country.
Yeah.
We're $4.5 trillion in debt. We're growing in debt at $1 billion a day. What will happen when all of the money collected on taxes goes to interest on the debt? If you look at Argentina and Brazil, you have a hyperinflation, an economic situation. Collapse of the economy, rioting in the streets,
anarchy, and so training in the woods. What? In other words, you really think this is going to come down here?
You have to understand that
one at a time.
You have to understand that in the area that I live, it is woods. My closest neighbor is a half a mile away.
But I don't understand how higher interest rates and a big service load on the debt is going to be cured by wearing fatigues and running around the woods as a grown man, huffing and puffing. In the what's the point?
It's real simple. If we were not dressed like this in training, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. And we want the American people to pull together, contact their elected officials,
and tell them what
the problems are, and let's sit down and let's start working out the problem instead of just.
John, here's what you told
us.
Here's what you told us.
Ken.
No, but I mean, John, I think said this to us. It's about informing the public about what's going on in this country. You say it's a sellout. The government is selling us out. The Constitution's in peril. You believe that our government is involved in a population reduction. Come on. Our government wants to disarm the citizens, create a one-world government, then do a world reduction of the population. And what we're seeing now is foreign military equipment and chemical warfare equipment being brought into our country. Come on.
Okay. By the tens of thousands. If I might respond, I'm going to step on John's toes here. You got to ask yourself, and you folks that are finding some of this humorous, number one, this was photographed in Texas a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right, this is a Frog short-range Russian chemical biological missile. We have photographed several of these. We also have this equipment on videotape.
With a red star and a gold finish.
Sorry
looks
about
like
that, folks, but this is in Texas. If that doesn't bother you, then maybe we should be.
How do you know that?
Okay, excuse me, because our people
let me hold it for you. I'm trying to help you here.
This one happens to be 100 flatbeds of Russian tanks and armament that they brought into Montana. Our own people photographed this.
Come on.
All right. I'm sorry about
that. The Russians are coming again, you're telling me?
They're here.
Oh, they're here. I see.
While you're still handling your microphone.
Americans raising up in the militia.
Right.
There's 2 ways to diffuse the militia. Number one is people like you taking the information, taking our fears, and proving that we're wrong. That will diffuse the militia movement, or people like you in the mainstream news media shine a light on this information and find out it's true, then let's get the country back on true course.
Why is it so easy for us to glean support from the public? We don't even have to go after them. People are calling us.
Let me tell you why. Because I think you're stocking ammunition. I think you have semi-automatic. I think you've got automatic. I think